Train the muscles, not the joints. Welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about plateaus. Now, I've talked about this before in the past, but it's always a subject that's valuable because you always hit different plateaus at different stages of your training, and sometimes for different reasons. That's the thing. It's not always the same reason. Some people, when they hit a plateau, they change their training program up. But what if it's not your training program that's a problem? What if it's your sleep or your stress levels or something physiologically that's going on with you at the time? Maybe you have a mineral deficiency or something's going on that way, right? I mean, if you don't have enough zinc, your body's not going to be able to produce testosterone. Perhaps you're not going to be able to function as well or recover as well if your hormones aren't right. If your magnesium is off, you're going to get muscle knots or electrolyte imbalances and things. And I've experienced that with our water supply here in Harrison. It has way too much chlorine in it, so we've had to actually get a filtration device and everything to deal with that. And once I figured that out, no problem. But I went magnesium deficient for a period of time, despite taking multivitamins and supplements and so forth. So here's the thing. When you hit a plateau, the first thing you want to look at is your diet. Are you eating enough? Because the food itself is really what your muscle's going to be made out of, right? So if you're not eating enough food, then yeah, you're going to basically hit a plateau every day of the week. I mean, if you have a perfect training program, but you're only eating once a day or whatever for 5 or 6 months, you're going to find that you're going to have a hard time putting on muscle. So the weakest link is usually the food. That's something you should look at. Say your goal is to put on muscle or build some strength or put on some body weight. Try adding another healthy meal of carb and protein or fat and protein, depending on what type of diet you're on.
Voila.
Whether it's a paleo or whatever, or standard bodybuilding carb and protein type diet, try adding an extra meal of good quality carbs, which means like a lower glycemic index type carb, like a yam or a high quality pasta made of spelt or some sort of tree bark or something, I don't know. But try something. Huh? This caveman dieting, see? Just chicken breast and an apple, there you go. That's simple. You just put a little pack with a little cooler in there, hey? A little bit of ice, a little bit of ice, and you're good to go. Feed the cameraman. The fact is just protein and a good low glycemic carb. If you add an extra meal a day, then you're gonna have the extra little bit of calories, maybe some more energy to train. Maybe that energy will give you a little bit more intensity. Again, you also have to make sure that your protein is high enough. A lot of people are training with 80 grams of protein a day, and I've been guilty of this quite a bit. But I notice as soon as I bring up my protein to 150 grams and over, I do notice a bigger pump when I'm in the gym. I notice more results. I notice that I recover better. And I feel like, let's just say there's a more mind-muscle connection to the muscles themselves. It's like there's a positive nitrogen balance in there. Now, the other thing you might want to consider is supplementation. If you're not able to stick to a perfect nutritional regime all the time, then adding some creatine or glutamine or something like that can give you some extra space in your program, meaning that when you eat those supplements, it does help your body be a little bit more anti-catabolic. If you haven't tried creatine, it is a great product. I've been using it lately. I haven't been using it for years because I was trying to kind of cut and stuff and look good for YouTube, but now I'm just using it a little bit, just 5 grams to 10 grams of creatine a day, because I do notice it does help my muscle pumps and helps me get through some plateaus, whether it's energetic or not, right? Because creatine is the fuel for muscle contraction, so it is a very effective supplement in order to increase your intensity for your workouts, and it does help your recovery, because anytime that your muscle cell is increased in hydration, it helps the permeability of the cell wall, and this helps nutrients go in and out. So sometimes there can be a synergistic effect with taking supplements like creatine or glutamine. Now, these are natural because they are in your food. Creatine is in your chicken breast, it's in your beef, and glutamine is in your food as well. So this is what I classify as a natural supplement, stuff that's already existing as an edible product in your food. It's not something like manufactured in some sort of laboratory. It's not a hormone, in other words. I don't believe in taking hormones of any kind, anything that binds to receptors and stuff. I don't believe in any of that. So don't mess around with any of that stuff. All right, kids? Yeah. Another thing to think about is your sleep. Are you getting enough sleep? And a lot of people laugh at this because usually the type A personality that is associated with making gains and being alpha and conquering the business world and becoming the best bodybuilder or fitness enthusiast or whatever, they usually have a tendency to push, but not rest. So they don't have enough yin to the yang, right? So you need to make sure that you're sleeping in order for the body to recover. If you're not, then your body's always in an adrenal mode, and that can also associate higher cortisol levels, which is like a stress hormone in your body, and that helps break down of tissue, but doesn't necessarily help with the build up of it. So you want to make sure that you're getting enough sleep. So try not to burn the candle at both ends, And if you are burning the candle at both ends, just realize that it will be harder for you to recover, and you're gonna have to be way more impeccable to your diet in that case. And you're also gonna have to be more impeccable to the volume of the training you're doing. You might have to lower down the volume, and you might not be able to do as much weight as often. But at the same time, if you stick to a really good eating program, you can still make some gains. Now, different people need different amounts of sleep. I've always been more an 8 or 9 hour guy, 9 hours mostly, and then a nap during the day. That's always been my thing. But that's why when I was doing sales jobs, sometimes I just lay in my car or at my office or something like that and just go out for 20 minutes and then come back. Sometimes during my lunch break and things. But different people need different amounts of sleep, but you will need a minimum amount of sleep for you if you wish to make gains for the most part. And if you go too long, training really hard without enough sleep and you're sleep deprived, at some point, some sort of problem in the body will reveal itself. You'll start to get an injury or some sort of chronic problem of some sort because your body's not able to juggle all the balls of recovery that are going on at the same time. So again, make sure you're getting enough sleep. Now, the third thing I'll talk about is the training program. Of course, like assuming your eating and your sleep is in order, then of course your training program is something to look at. And sometimes, no matter how perfect your training program is, sometimes it's time to shock the system. Like for instance, lately I've been doing a little bit of a 5x5 type training program for my bench presses because I've been doing more 10 to 15 reps for the last 2 or 3 months with my bench press type work. So now I'm trying to go a little bit heavier for a bit and just see how that feels. And of course, it's not like I'll stay permanently in any one program, but it is important to push. And as a natural bodybuilder, you do need to challenge yourself with the weight safely. So if your body says, hey, I feel pretty good, then by all means, go a little heavier in weight, do some higher weight type sets for a period of time to shock the system, and then rep out on other days where you feel like it's not really the right time for you to lift heavy. So you do need to combine some of these heavy weights, at least most of you, okay? Most of you need to combine heavy weight sets or higher intensity sets from time to time, and maybe you need to increase the volume. Maybe you need to do 10 sets, but not hit failure. Just do sets of 3 with a weight that you could do 5 or 6 reps with, but just do 10 sets of a set of 3. Like, try something different. That's my point. Try something different. Try something intense in a different way than you've been intense. So if you've been doing 25, 30 reps, just burning out the muscle like crazy, that's a form of intensity. That's extremely intense. But at the same time, you're using a lower weight to do that. Now try doing something different. Try doing 5, 10 sets of sets of 3 with something you could do 5 or 6 reps with, or maybe try doing a 5x5 program, or maybe going to failure on 8 reps for 5 or 6 sets instead of just failure on the 25 reps. Each technique is valid. It's just that each one will hit a different muscle fiber type, and it's important for you to incorporate these different ways of stimulating the body if you want to get the most amount of muscle mass and strength overall. Now, don't just change the sets or the program, sometimes change the exercises altogether. You don't have to just change the sets and reps, but change the exercises, and sometimes going to more of a stretching movement as opposed to a contraction movement or vice versa can be also an effective way to get some extra results where you haven't seen them. So one example would be, I was doing a lot of bench press, a lot of dumbbell presses, and all that sort of thing. But when I went to the machine fly, I noticed that my chest development came up a little bit. I started to notice a little bit more chest development. So this is something that you can consider in your training. You want to just change something up. And don't be afraid to have fun with your training. I find a lot of people have a hard time having fun with it because they're so locked in here. They're like thinking, okay, what am I going to do? Who am I going to be? How am I going to be alpha next? How am I going to conquer the world? Mountain, my word mountain is resonating in your head. You're like, how do I become a mountain tomorrow? Mountain. Forget all that. Just enjoy the workout. Just enjoy the feeling, enjoy what you're doing and what type of intensity that you're applying at that time in whatever exercise that you choose is right for you. Like, I know there's one guy at my gym that he's trained heavy for years, and now he's doing like really light fluffer workouts, as my dad would call them. They're fluffer workouts, where he's just basically just pumping out reps with super lightweight, super light isolations. That's another thing you can consider. Going from compounds to isolations for a period of time, or just from isolations to compounds, and just sticking to one thing and just concentrating on that just for a period of time to refresh your enthusiasm for training. So I hope this helps you out in your training. I hope this helps you refresh yourself and get over whatever plateau you're in. And thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the patron supporters. Thanks a lot, guys. You're making this stuff possible for these people. You're little angels, you know that? Yeah. They're angels. What a Gallantian angels. It's not like Charlie's angels, the Gallantian angels. But thanks. All right, take care for now.
Gallant.